everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a spinning numbers design. It doesn't reveal anything, it's just the numbers forwards and backwards, but they spin, which is fun. If you want to apply this to a future year, if you're watching this later on in life, and you want to change the numbers, you can certainly just change the numbers that you're sculpting. Same thing applies for my past videos. If you want to just see what other kind of New Year's Eve craziness that I have in the past, I will put links to all of them in the description box below. All you would need to change is the year. So I hope you guys like this one, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well.
So I'm going to begin by taking a piece of wire and we're going to embed that in the nail. So apply just a smidge of some clear acrylic at the very tip of your nail. Grab that wire, place it down, hold it in place until you can feel that the acrylic has started to set and the wire's not going to wiggle around very much anymore. Once you feel comfortable letting it go, trust me, it takes a little longer than you think it would. Encapsulate the entire nail so that the wire is fully covered up and not going anywhere at all. Take care when encapsulating. Do this a little more carefully than you may otherwise because filing around the wire is difficult. And so you don't want to have a whole lot of filing to do. You want to try to minimize it. So just be extra careful when encapsulating that nail. Now I'm going to use the color Bucket List that's from the Madam Glam Advent Calendar, which is a beautiful burgundy, kind of a warm, a little bit like a cherry burgundy color. It's not a brick red at all. It's just a very pretty color. And then I'm going to apply Madam Glam's No Wipe Top Coat over the top of that. Such a pretty color. And now I'm going to be using some chrome base coat. So a chrome base is essentially a no wipe top coat that has just the right texture, just the right finishing cured texture, stickiness to hold onto chrome powder very well and create a very smooth sheen. Some gel top coats will do a beautiful job with chrome. Some do not. Madam Glam's, and I don't know if they just reformulated, but this is the one that came in the Advent Calendar, and it did not hold chrome powder whatsoever, which I actually love because then I know that I can do this type of a design. So I've got the Madam Glam No White Top Coat in the background and then a chrome base on top. You can either use a different top coat that maybe you know holds chrome well. I also know that the other top coat that I use frequently, the one from Koopa, doesn't do chrome either. So I actually enjoy it when my top coats are that way because then I'll have my chrome top coat or my chrome base if it's a specific chrome product that I'm like, yep, this will be what I'll use. So I've got the no wipe top coat, which will not grab the chrome, and now using the chrome base, I'm painting my filigree across the entire nail. I'm using a series of swirls to go back and forth and around and just fill it in. It is difficult to see where you are painting the swirls because you're using a clear product to paint the design. If it's really hard to see and you just don't know how you're going to do it, some things to try would be to maybe put a light to either the left or the right. So if you're right-handed, put a light on the left side of where you're painting so that you get kind of across the nail lighting, or maybe try painting next to a window just to try to get where you can see the curvature of the swirls. After you have all of them painted in, cure it and then grab some rose gold chrome powder and burnish that into the surface and apply another coat of Madam Glam's No Wipe Top Coat over the top to seal in the chrome powder. Now on a piece of scratch paper, draw a set of parallel lines and then between them write out your letters, or your numbers I should say, not letters. Write your numbers. So for this, because we do have a repeating number in our current year, we are going to make a 0, a 2, and a 3. You don't have to do the whole 2, 0, 2, 3 because the 2s would be the same. And if you only draw one of them and you reuse the template, then they're going to be more closer to identical than if you were to draw 2 of them and use 2 separate templates. Pick a font that you like. There are so many available. If you just Google, fancy fonts, if you just type that in and see what you can come up with, you can see so many different styles of writing. I really like this one. It reminds me of like a very ornate clock is kind of what this makes me feel like, and I always associate New Year's with clocks. If you also do, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to see my past New Year's designs, I have many with clocks. Some of them even have clocks that have gears inside and they turn and the hands of the clock move. Really cool stuff. So definitely check those out. But otherwise, we're going to do this New Year's spinner. So we've got our numbers, lay a nail form backing on top of that, and grab your acrylic color to start sculpting each of the numbers. Make 1 0, 2 2s, and 1 3. I am using a glitter acrylic, which has the benefit of being beautiful because it's glittery and I like glitter, but the pitfall of being a little harder to sculpt with. If you aren't used to sculpting this type of thing with the little numbers and the thin lines and the thick lines and getting it all to play nice in the end, I would not recommend doing this with a glitter acrylic, just because sometimes they can be a little bit uncooperative. And so if you start out with acrylic when you're doing something like this for the first time or when you're still kind of getting your feet wet with it, an acrylic that you are familiar with, that you know works really well. A lot of times that'll be like a pastel color. I think those usually sculpt very nicely, or a sculpture white is always a favorite of mine to sculpt with. So if you're just kind of getting started with this process, start with a color like that that you are very comfortable with before trying something crazy like a black or a darker color or glitter. After you've got the 0 and the 2 sculpted, you can kind of move your nail form backing around to give yourself more space so you don't have to sculpt them and leave your nail form backing in the exact same position for each number as you're going down. Sculpt the 3. I'm not going to show you sculpting the second 2 because it is exactly the same process as the first one. With any of these numbers, I do recommend doing them section by section and not trying to sculpt the entire 3 or the entire 2 in one piece. So I'm doing just that top straight bar on the 3, and then I'll extend it down a little bit for the serif in the front, and then go through and do the rest of it. It's a lot easier that way, and I'm using a fast setting acrylic, which gives me less time to work with an acrylic versus if I had a traditional monomer or a low odor. If you do have a traditional or a low odor and you're using them instead, you may find that you can do a little bit more of each number at a time. I still think it takes longer because you have to wait so long for your acrylic to get into that lovely pliable Play-Doh type state. Whereas with the 3D monomer or a fast setting monomer, as soon as you lay that bead of acrylic down, you can start manipulating it. And there's really no wait time because it polymerizes so quickly. I'm going to do the big bumpy part of my 3, carry that around, press it out with the belly of my brush a few times to get it to flatten out. Like I said, glitter acrylic doesn't always play nice. You can see the little bits of glitter here and there around the nail form backing where it fell out of the acrylic. Add that last little bit of the 3. And then once you have it where everything has pretty much gotten sculpted, you have all of your numbers, make sure that you leave them on the nail form backing until they are very, very firm. You don't want them to be wiggly at all. No bendiness, no stickiness, nothing. Leave them so that they are completely and 100% cured. Meanwhile, back on your wire that is embedded in the nail, you're going to grab some beads that are hopefully a similar color to what your general color scheme of this design is. And you're going to place 2 beads onto the wire for every 2. So you've got the 2 in the beginning, and then you're going to place a larger accent bead, and then 2 beads for the 0, then an accent bead, and then 2 beads for the next 2, and then an accent bead, and then 3 beads for the 3. So there's the last one and then the final one. Now, after you have that, place a little bit of something to hold the end of the wire so that the beads don't fall off. I used a bit of poster putty. Position the first 2 beads that are for the first 2 so that they are about the distance apart for what the 2 is. Don't mind me grabbing the 0 first. I am losing my mind. So we got the 2. Position the beads so that they will touch the 2 points of the 2 that will be touching the wire, basically right at the top of the 2 and at the bottom. Hold it firmly with your finger underneath so that those beads and the 2 do not move, and attach the beads to the 2 with some clear acrylic. You have to hold that until it begins to really set. At that point, then I would grab some of the same color that you used to sculpt your numbers and go up and over the bead. As you can see, the beads that I'm using are much more of like a scarlet red versus the pretty burgundy color. So I want to make sure that they are very well covered so that they don't stick out like a sore thumb. So go up and over. While you're doing this, be aware that you do not want to get any acrylic on your wire. So you don't want any acrylic to interfere with the movement of the numbers. Slide your accent bead up out of the way, grab your 0, position the beads over the top of the 0, same thing at the top and the bottom points of the 0 so that it is where it will be touching. You want to make sure that your numbers are all centered on your wire. Secure them with the clear acrylic, same process going around just the very bottoms. Hold this in place. It is a little bit of an act of, I don't know, finger gymnastics to get this so that you don't bend the wire, you don't allow the numbers to move, you just keep everything really, really stock still. So don't drink a whole bunch of coffee before doing this and get really shaky because your numbers will shift and then they won't be attached. Same thing, cover up those beads with your burgundy acrylic. And then after that one's done and it's completely secured, move that one up out of the way, slide up your accent bead, grab your second 2 and attach that one. As you're going down and doing all of these, in the beginning of the video, you need to make sure that you leave enough of the wire so that you can comfortably work on all of these numbers without them getting too close together and sticking to each other, so that you can move them around and still give them space as you're working. I was just on the very edge of a long enough piece of wire, and I, in the beginning, thought to myself, wow, I've got way more wire here than I would ever need. I also decided at one point that I didn't need to have 3 beads for my 3, that 2 would suffice. It kind of depends on the style of 3. Maybe if it would seem like it would be too delicate without that 3rd one in the middle to hold on to that middle point of the 3. Mine is a pretty stocky 3, so I thought it was okay, but depending, you may want to add another bead. And then I'm going to do the same process up and over with the burgundy. And then go ahead, make sure all of your numbers spin and scooch them together so they are nice and snug between the number, accent bead, number, accent bead, number. Cut off your extra wire off the tip of it, and then grab another one of the accent beads and glue it to the end of the wire so that your numbers cannot fall off. And just hold that in place. If your bead slides up and down the wire easily, you may want to add a little bit of clear acrylic underneath it so that it doesn't wiggle and fall off. Now, using the Madam Glam foil gel, this came in the advent calendar as well. I'm going to be doing a skinny version of each letter within the middle of, or I keep saying letter, number, a skinny version of the numbers within the middle of them. So I'm not going to completely paint the front of these whatsoever. I'm just going to add like a little highlight line in the center of them. Just going down. If you do not feel comfortable painting all of these while the other ones are wet, you may consider doing 1 or 2 at a time instead of trying to do all 4 of them. So just do 2, use the foil, and then do the other 2. I'm a daredevil in this circumstance only, pretty much. And after I have all 4 of them painted, I'm going to cure that for a minute. Press my rose gold foil, also from the Madam Glam advent calendar, over the top of each number. And then you may want to use a silicone tool just to really secure the foil down, really press it to help with the transfer. If you find any places did not transfer very well, you can always put the foil back on, press it again with a focus on the spots that did not transfer. Do the last 2. Because I am doing this over the top of the glitter acrylic, the glitter does have some texture to it, which made it a little bit more difficult to transfer the foil. It did work out though, and I absolutely love the way that they look. And here's the last one on the 3. Going to go back with my silicone tool and really just press nice and firm over the top of the numbers. Once you're done with all of them, I'm going to apply some gel sealer over the fronts of the numbers. I did keep them all from spinning by sticking a little bit of poster putty under each one to hold them in place while they are going to cure. Once they're cured, you're all done. There is so many beautiful colors and effects in this. There's the chrome and the foil and the glitter and that beautiful burgundy background color. I am so in love with this. I am also really impressed with all of the cool things that Madam Glam likes to stick in their advent calendars. The foil gel is a really nice one. It's super sticky and grabs foil so nicely, and the foil color is so pretty. I hope you guys like this one as much as I do, and don't forget to subscribe to get my future videos as well. Happy New Year!